It's Drive Time with Holly. Business and consumer news you can trust. I mean, what else are you going to do sitting in traffic?
Yes, and welcome back to another edition of Drive Time with Holly. I'm Yaffe.
And I'm Holly.
And we have a little bit of a shortened edition of Drive Time with Holly today, but we have a lot of great stuff to talk about today, right, Holly?
You know, we've been in the midst of some pretty crazy weather changes here in Central Florida. I mean,
that's an understatement, but yes.
Yeah, you leave the house in the morning in, a sweater and a hat and gloves, and you dress your children like they're going snow skiing, and then you come home and you've stripped it all off because it's 80 degrees. So this is winter in Florida.
Yeah. Exactly.
Welcome
right.
to it.
Exactly right. I'm a natural Floridian. I've been here pretty much my whole life, and I don't like the cold.
No.
So I welcome the warmth.
Floridians have a very small tolerance for a swing in temperature.
Yeah, they'll like it for like the first day or so, the first couple days, and then after that, it's like, okay, I'm done. Where's my 70-degree weather?
If we don't have some of this weather, there are obviously bug issues and citrus issues that we need the cold weather for. But that being said, if we don't get a few days of freeze, I don't get to wear my cute jackets. We don't get to wear.
That's the important thing.
We don't get to wear our UGG boots. There's a whole section of our closets that we never touch until these 7 days a year. So bring it on.
Well, I think that's one of the problems is most Floridians don't have those clothes because you don't usually have to dress that way. So when it's cold, they never dress right.
Well, we have cold weather clothes for Florida. But when
Yeah.
we go to see our family or when we go on vacation in a state that has actual cold weather, we are not dressed properly.
Yeah, exactly right. So in talking about the crazy weather, we're going to be talking with our expert here who a lot of people should probably thank, especially during the summer months in Florida.
Well, that's true. When you live in Florida, you most definitely need to have a list of a few professionals at your fingertips.
Uh-huh.
And most Floridians know who they're going to call that day when they get home and there's no air conditioning. Because in Florida, you want to have your doctor, you want to have car insurance. There are those important bills that you pay that who you depend on for that. But you also want to know that you can find an air conditioning contractor or an air conditioning repair company that you can trust because, my goodness, we depend on them.
Yes, so today we are talking with David Hill, who is the owner of Certified Climate Control. And how are you, David?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. So have you guys been busy the past few weeks at all?
We have been extremely busy.
Busy is probably not the word for it. David and I ran into each other last week, and I said to him, it was on one of those days, I think that was probably the coldest so far, and I said, you must be slammed. And he said, that's not the word for it. He said, but we're busy, but probably not for the reason you would expect. And that is where the idea for this show came from, because his answer for why he's so busy wasn't at all what I expected. So, David, when we go through these spells where it's 30 degrees, it's 31 degrees in the morning, everyone turns their heat on. They've not turned it on since, a year ago. What problems might they find when they try to turn it on for the first time in a year? Let's start there.
Well, I'll tell you the biggest question and phone call we get is, I think something's on fire.
Smell.
My house smells like it's just burning down.
Is that normal?
That's completely normal. What happens is all through the year, you've run in your air conditioner. There's nothing that's going to have any impact on dust except for your filter. But of course, no filter stops everything. So that dust ends up sitting on your heater coils for 11 months. Then whenever you turn on your heat, those heater coils get hot just like your stovetop does. It burns that dust off, which gives you that good probably 2 minutes of my house is on fire, and then it goes away.
Right.
If it doesn't go away, you have a problem.
Right.
But as long as it does, it's completely normal.
To me, that's like the official start of winter when
That's
you get
right.
that first smell of the heater.
That nasty smell. So from a professional's perspective, what temperature does it have to be in your home for you to turn the heat on?
My home, about 70.
So once you get to 70, it's time to turn the heat on.
For me, yes.
Yeah.
I'm a native Floridian as well. I do not like cold weather.
Not very tolerant. And what do you keep your air at during the summer?
76.
76. Okay, right.
Unless my wife is sleeping, then at 73.
Okay. Because ultimately, you know who the boss is.
Absolutely.
So what you explained to me was you explained that you were busy, but not for the reason I would expect. Talk a little bit about what happens when you leave the house and it's 30 degrees and you come home and it's 74. What are we as Floridians doing that is causing you or giving you so much business?
Well, what most people don't think about is the swing in temperatures that are created. With your heating, whenever you turn on your heat, the temperature rise. The increase in temperature running across your coils is anywhere 35 to 70 degrees higher than the ambient air temperature. And whenever you're air conditioning, the drop on your coil is about 20 degrees. So whenever you think of that, that's a 90-degree swing that's running across those coils. So whenever you have your heat on and you've just heated up those coils and they're, we'll say on average, probably 135 degrees, those coils are really hot. Then you go, oh, it's too hot in here. Let me turn on my air. You turn that on. Now the temperature's down to 42 degrees.
Oh, wow.
The expansion and contraction that happens
inside the unit
and on the metal makes the seals on the older air conditioners start to crack, and that's where refrigerant leaks start to develop, and then you have no heating at all.
So assuming that you had a day where legitimately in the morning you needed to have the heat on, and then you get home in the afternoon and the house is just too hot, would you recommend to reduce that wear and tear that you're talking about for the temperature swings that's going to cause that extra wear and tear? Would you recommend that we just open the window and or it is what it is and maybe you have to turn the air on? Is opening the window going to help us be a little bit more comfortable? And is that the smarter way to make ourselves comfortable? Should we avoid the swing in temperature going from heat to cool in a day?
You don't really want to avoid it, but I'm not a big proponent of opening the windows. There's days and sometimes weeks in Florida where we can open our windows and enjoy the outside. But to do it at a one-time, I'm going to open it for a half hour or an hour, not necessarily a great idea, because all that heat and humidity or cold and humidity that you've gotten rid of inside of your house, now you're inviting it back in. Okay. And you're going to have to start over again, let alone if you have any allergy issues. Now you're inviting all that pollen and everything back into your house. So you're really disturbing your indoor climate and your environment. Best thing you can really do, a lot of people think it's really inconvenient to set your temperatures back whenever you're gone and then change them whenever you come home. But nowadays with modern technology, there's thermostats that you can control from your phone.
So take advantage of a programmable thermostat so that you don't have to go from extremes.
Correct. A lot of them have what's called an auto changeover function, to where you can tell it, I don't want my house to be any colder than this. I don't want my house to be any hotter than this. And it will keep you within that range acceptably. You just don't want to come home and your heater turned off 15 minutes ago, but it's so hot in here, and now you're going to turn the air on. That's where those problems start coming in.
Right.
So it's really the gradual kind of change is what you're talking about.
Absolutely. The gradual change is not going to have a major impact on it, but whenever you do the drastic ones,
extremes,
it really wreaks havoc on your system.
Wow.
Well, I have a feeling that our audience is really tuned in right now, because this is something that every single one of us, I think, has to deal
myself.
with. Yeah, exactly right. So we're going to give you more advice how to keep up your air conditioner and get more advice from our expert on this. You are listening to Drive Time with Holly. I'm Yaffe.
And I'm Holly.
And we will be right back.
Welcome back to Drive Time with Holly. Business and consumer news you can trust.
Yes, and this is Drive Time with Holly, business and consumer news that you can definitely trust. I'm Yaffe.
And I'm Holly.
And we were talking with an expert that I think a lot of us have to deal with, especially in Florida.
Yeah, we're grateful to know that there are air conditioning contractors and repair people out there that we can depend on and that we can trust. And speaking of that, This is an abbreviated show this evening because of Gator basketball, but we wanted to bring this information to you because we're in the middle of Florida's crazy swings in winter weather, with air quotes. You leave in the morning and you're freezing to death and you come home and you're burning up. So we wanted to make sure that we made this information available to our listeners because we're in the midst of a season where we're all depending on our heating and air units. So I want to remind our listeners that if you're in the need for an AC person to come out to your home and want to find one that you can trust, always remember that you can check with Better Business Bureau and find that at bbb.org. Also, we're going to post some follow-up information to this evening's show on drivetimeholly.com. Previous shows you can find there, and then also follow up to tonight's show.
Yeah, so we always post the podcast on the website and follow up on our social media as well, Facebook. So make sure to like us on Facebook. And one person you can definitely trust in this area is Mr. David Hill, who is the owner of Certified Climate Control, and he's been talking to us. And David, before we ask you some more questions on maintaining your AC and your heat, tell our audience how they can reach you and Certified Climate Control if they need your help.
Well, depending on where you're located, we have a couple different locations to serve you, but the easiest way to find out who can serve you best is to go to our website, certifiedclimate.com.
Okay, great. So we've talked a little bit about some of the things that Yaffe and I didn't know, which was don't go from hot heat to cold air conditioning in one day because that is some unexpected wear and tear on your units that we didn't know about.
Yeah, I think we just take that for granted that we can do that, but not think about how that affects your system.
Yeah, so sometimes I think we can afford to be a little uncomfortable if it's not the exact right temperature, as long as you know what you're doing to your unit if you do purposely go through those major swings in temperature. I know I will probably find myself just putting on an extra layer or something so that I don't have to go through the major swings in temperature. But getting back to some more common heating and air questions, how can people extend the life of their AC unit? Is it common that people aren't changing their filters as often as need be? Is that really... how often should they do it? What things can we do to extend the life of our unit?
There's really only two things that you need to do. The biggest one is changing your filters. And no, most people do not change their filters, as crazy as that sounds. And they don't want to use a good filter.
Okay.
Or they go to the other extreme of using one that is way too good. We have to find that nice mix of something that's catches enough of the debris to keep our systems clean, but doesn't block so much air that now we're inhibiting the airflow, which is going to cause the system not to work efficiently as well.
So a filter that's way too thick and way too fancy may do more harm than good.
Correct. I can't tell you how many times we've had customers call up, my system's freezing up, it's not cooling, I've got a problem. We go out there and it's like, is this the first time you've ever used this $25 high-end filter? And they're like, yeah. Your system's not strong enough for it.
Do you find that those people are maybe allergy sufferers who are trying to filter out as much as possible?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily that if you suffer from allergies that you need to buy the most expensive. Maybe just change them more often?
You can change them more often. And
what is the recommended amount you're supposed to change it? Is it once a month, once every 6 months?
That is probably why there are the problems that there are out there. Is it depends on the filter. There are filters out there that are designed to be changed every 30 days, and there's other filters out there that are designed to be changed once a year.
And does it also depend on what you've got going on in your house?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
If I always tell people, if it's just you, your wife, you have no pets, no kids, no carpet in the house, you can probably get 3 months out of a 30-day filter.
Right.
But if you have 5 cats, 2 dogs, 6 kids, and every room in the house has carpet, guess what?
That makes me sneeze just thinking about it.
There you go.
Right.
Right. So I think that's really interesting that you need to not go based on your assumptions of the industry standard. You need to also consider what's best for your household and the situation you've got going on in your own home.
Absolutely. What I tell all of my customers is, look, there's no difference between your eyes or mine. If you pull the filter out and it looks clean, put it back in.
Right.
Use it for another month and check it again. You will learn that, okay, this filter doesn't look dirty until it's 90 days in. Change it every 90 days. Or if you bought a 90-day filter and you look at it at the end of 30 days and it's just covered, get rid of it. You need to change your filter more often.
So if I move into a home that, let's say, was built in the 70s and I have one of those old school, the turn dial thermostat, is there, for energy efficiency's sake, am I better off to have a digital thermostat installed, or is that old school turn knob thermostat just fine?
The old digital or the old mercury turn knob one is not fine.
Okay.
Metal wears, and it uses a bimetal that it's affected by the temperature. So the older that gets, the less reactive it gets. So now whenever you're asking for 76, it's actually letting it go up to 79 before it comes on. And you're wanting it to cool down to 76, and it's taking it down to 72 before it shuts off. And you're like, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm cold.
And so that has nothing to do with your equipment. It has everything to do with it could be your thermostat.
Absolutely. The air conditioner is constant. If it comes on, it's cooling 18 to 20 degrees. When it shuts off, it's not cooling anything.
Mm-hmm.
So the thermostat is the one that says, come on and stay on and shut off, I'm done.
Right.
So with the digital thermostats, they react within 2 degrees. A mercury thermostat can have a 6 to 8 degree swing.
If you have an older heating and air unit, let's say it was installed in the late 90s or the early 2000s, and you move into a new home, do you wait until that unit has a problem to replace it? Or do you go ahead at a certain point and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of this problem and replace it? What would be your advice on that?
Well, everybody always likes to ask, how long is my air conditioner going to last? What should I expect? There are no expectations. Every system is different. Everybody's house is different. There are catastrophic events that, when your compressor goes and it's unforeseen, it's time to replace the air conditioner if it's not under warranty. That's a very expensive piece. But everything else is situational. So I always recommend people get somebody out there to do a quick diagnostic on it and tell you everything that's wrong with your system, not just what is causing the problem you have, but a complete diagnostic. How's it heating? How's it cooling? What are the amp draws on every motor, every fan motor? Find out all you can about it, and that will give you a better idea as to when you need to start talking about that. But definitely don't wait till the last minute.
Right. Because the last minute is probably going to come on one of those days in the middle of June where you're laying in the floor trying to find the last cool square of tile because you're burning up. So to have a diagnostic, to have someone take a look at it so that you may know what's coming down the pike, I guess is a better way to prepare so that you don't find yourself in an emergency situation because guess what? On that hottest day of July, the reputable heating and air contractors are also going to have a list of other people who waited until the last minute. So I would imagine that if you get this diagnostic done during, decent weather, when it's decently cool outside, and maybe address your issues during that time of year, you're probably better off than waiting until the hottest day of the year.
Absolutely. That's the only reason the industry has chosen spring and fall to be the times that we advertise and talk about tune-ups is, you don't really need us that bad at that point in time.
Right. But
the people who call us in the middle of August and it's 95 degrees outside, my air conditioner just broke, can you change it tomorrow?
I'm dying.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm going to be booked out 2-3 weeks at that point in time. Everybody who's any good at what they do will be. The guy who is available and able to do it for you tomorrow, there's probably a reason he's not busy. Look.
That's right.
Oh, man. So if you want to find someone who is one of those good guys, just go to bbb.org. We're going to post all the information on social media as well. We've been talking to David Hill, who's the owner of Certified Climate Control, about maintaining your air conditioning. I really appreciate you all joining us today. I'm Yaffe.
And I'm Holly.
And up next, we have Gators basketball, and we'll catch you guys next time.